Namaskar and welcome to this exciting episode of Sattology, debunking mythology. Sat means truth, logos means a study or science. Sattology means a science of truth. Opposite of that is mythology, which means study or science of fake, lie, or imagination. Today I have a very, very special guest, a very good friend, and he actually knows how to interview. I don't. And he also has been in media for so long, and that probably I can't even remember. And also, he has been spearheading the community outreach of Indian Americans in USA. So, without delay, let us welcome Shri Vibhuti Jha from NY16.
Namaste. Thank you very much for having me, and a pleasure to be introduced to your audience and to you. And thank you for your compliment that I do interviews as well, if not better than you. So thank you. So interviewing the interviewee.
It's a very difficult job, very difficult job.
No, no,
Right,
it ought to be easy. It ought to be easy.
To interview a successful interviewer, it's difficult, very difficult job, and also person who is in media. So before we start off, Vibhuti ji, one thing I really am impressed that you had the courage to take the plunge being in media, because but one thing is also there in the history that most of the media people have become successful politicians because they see the issues inside and out and they can articulate it very well. So from beginning from the history, this Sattology channel where we talk a lot about history, what have you changed? What have you seen the change in the US from the time you came to USA in American politics?
That's a topic that we can talk for 1 hour by itself. But I'll take the cue from what you said. That what change have I seen since I came to this country, and that was in 1991. So ever since I have come to the country, United States is the largest democracy, the very proud democracy, it's a strong democracy. And I have really observed the system, the way it plays out here. The one thing which was very clear in this particular country was that this country is remarkably proud. The pride that runs in its veins is just about amazing. And thus, it is economically powerful, politically strong, militarily very powerful. So they are able to call their shots. They're able to impose and advance, I wouldn't say impose, but rather advance the belief systems that they have. So your channel is Sattology. You talk about truth, and you will be happy to know that the 3 words that I have chosen for my campaign is truth, trust, and transparency. That's the hallmark of journalism. Good journalism is to observe things and say what is true, what is truth, how to build trust and create transparency in the system, because eventually people want these 3 things to play out. But in reality, we also know that all these things are relative, and we have to always constantly endeavor to become more truthful, earn people's trust, and stay transparent in our code of conduct and behavior. That's very important. What I have seen, the change that has happened in America, that the country is getting far more, partisan, driving themselves from their extremes. And the reason why I took the plunge is that there has to be someone who can bring a modicum of sanity in our conversations. Dialogue is the way to go forward. Bitterness must be reduced. And these things can happen only if we stay true to the honesty of the scenario in which we deal with people truthfully, with trust, and creating transparency. What I noticed today is that all these 3 things are at a bargaining lot. The viciousness of the words, the campaigns are becoming more hurtful to people. And that's not okay. And that's one of the reasons that I chose that, yes, it's time for us to speak up. That's what is important.
New York has seen some of the most wildest comments coming in the political arena. And New York is also the financial hub of USA. It's the heart of USA. In fact, as it said, the New York City runs USA, and it's the one city has a turnover which is almost 1.6 trillion dollars, which is almost
Right.
touching California.
Correct.
Now, one question I have is, you are also a financial. You have also been in the financial industry, which many people have been attacking of late for profiteering, and they forget the point that US is built on as a corporation, like a not like a corporation. I would say it's like a they have capitalized everything. Capitalism is the core philosophy. So what do you think from that financial angle? What do you see what has become of USA?
What I'm looking at, I'm reminded of Swami Vivekananda's very beautiful comment when he was asked to define what is poison. He had the wisdom and the clarity of mind to define it as anything in excess. You are right. Profit is not evil. Profiteering becomes a bad thing, which begins to eventually hurt the very process that allows you to make profit. So what I'm noticing is that in the world of finance, as you rightly mentioned, New York City is the hub of financial activity globally, and it is a massive infrastructure that exists here. What I find is that the money part of it, how to make a quick buck, has become the modus operandi, and that's very hurtful to the system. This is the point at which you kill the goose that lays the golden egg, and that's the trap the United States financial services, banking, investment bankers, and the whole slew of banking institutions must make sure that you do not end up killing the goose that lays the golden egg for you. It's true. United States is what it is, an economic giant, because of the capitalist principles that they have followed. There is no country in the world where you have seen a success of socialist philosophies. They are not successful. They also adopt capitalistic principles. Look at China itself. They embraced private sector, private investments in their own economy to generate profits and to control. So when political ambitions and financial ambitions are very much linked, so without money, nothing happens. Money makes the world go round. But it's a very important part for us bankers to know at what point in time profit becomes profiteering. That's the time when it begins to hurt us. It helps no one.
So District 16 has a quite a mixed population, and also the priorities like the immigration and other things, they directly affect your district actually. Actually, you have the biggest problems, which whatever happens in southern border, northern border affects you directly. So people come to either LA or New York. It's a big process.
Yes, and I have lived in both the places, by the
Both the places.
way. Yes, I've lived in the bluest of blue states in the country. I'm living right now, and I'm good representing a red party here. So it's fascinating. It is very true. Yeah.
So what do you think about the issues in your district, and how you can use your skills both from the Hindu side as well as an American side to make life better for everyone?
The New York District 16 is very close to Manhattan, by the way. It's just about 35 miles. And the important part is that it is a very prosperous community. It's made up of Great Neck, Port Washington, Sands Point, Manhasset, New Hyde Park, parts of Roslyn Estates. So it's a very prosperous community, very peaceful community, very safe community. A lot of people from here go to Manhattan to work. And our train line is the direct connection to Manhattan Penn Station. What is important here, and it is, really, you can say District 16 is reflective of America, because you have synagogues, you have mosques, you have temples, and people of all denominations live here, plus the small businesses. So it's very critical that this particular community, that is safe community, must not get affected or resemble anywhere in the country that many democratically run cities have become. And that's a very key issue. Recently, the police distributed a brochure here saying that lock your car, don't leave your valuables here because people from other communities are coming for car lifting. And believe it or not, a very famous, prosperous Indian community guy, from his driveway, his Mercedes car was stolen just about 10 days ago. Point is very simple. Safety and security and order are critical for capitalist system to survive. Discipline and the commitment to make things happen are critical. How to maintain that? Defunding the police is not an option. Having a bail reform of a kind in which you let people go out because of, recently created bail reforms in which you let people go after $900 worth of theft or embezzlement. That's not okay. You need discipline, you need law and order, you need people to come together. Divisiveness doesn't work. So these are issues in our community, and from my experience of things, it is very simple. Life can be very simple if we just begin to deal with each other respectfully. My way or highway is not an option. Has to be a collaborative, cooperative, and coordinated effort by everybody to keep communities safe, economic life going, senior citizens and others, women are free to move around without the fear of being robbed or harassed or shot at. The Nassau County, Long Island, is amongst the top 10 communities in the country for the safety, economic prosperity, and these need to be maintained, if not enhanced.
The brown skin is characterized in the American media as someone very intelligent. And also, the brown skin is also known, especially coming from India, is known for skills or expertise on that basis. Doctors or educated class is mostly connected with that. That's how the media depicts them. So everywhere there will be a brown guy who will be the brain behind the major operations. And generally it is considered that they are good advisors, not doers. That's a connotation goes out in the media. So there'll be a famous, and I'm taking the wrong name, but Dr. Sanjay Gupta on CNN. He may talk anything, but he's very intelligent. He's the brain behind it. Similarly, there are new upcoming stars in the Fox News. Also, Vivek comes there regularly, and many others. So how do you plan to use that to your advantage in a way? I'm colorblind many ways because I come from India also, like you, Bombay, and we have white, green, blue, all colors you have on the skin color. So what do you see your strength in bringing the change that you wish to see, or the America which you wanted of your dreams?
America of my dreams. That's a very pertinent question. I like you, I'm colorblind. I'm totally colorblind. I don't believe, if I dare say so, that any particular color skin is superior to anybody else. I think there are beautiful people, there are stupid people, there are handsome people, there are beautiful women in every color that you can see around the world. That's the beauty of color. There is wisdom, there is intelligence in every part of the world. So I, first of all, do not quite concur with the thought that we Indians, brown people, are the intelligent people. But what is indeed true is that the majority of the Indians who have come here, after all, we have a population of maximum 3 million people here. There are 1.3 billion people back home. So the question is that those who came here, we are fighters, we are survivors. And we found we had the courage and the guts to travel 10,000 miles. The first generation of Indians who came here, they came with $6 or $7 in their pocket. That's all that was allowed per rule, per the law that existed at that time. So the question here is that those Indians who have come here, they are essentially survivors. They fought their way through. And as a result of which, they have become successful. So think about it from that perspective, that, Indians who came here were competing with huge number of people back home. The competition for us is far less. As a result of which, the daring, the commitment to work hard, to do things better, we outstripped many communities. So I would put the thing as in the category of the fact that everybody has the wisdom. Every community has its wisdom. White, black, South Asians, anywhere from the earth, or Asians, anywhere, they have the wisdom to do things. The question is, who is working hard? The one of the critical elements for us Indians is that we do not look for support from the system because we believe that the system provides for success as it is. And as a result of which, you will find most of the Indians have done well because we studied, we worked hard, we had a discipline. I'm reminded to quote here from a senator who once told me that we love you Indians as immigrants to this community. And I'm giving you a verbatim quote, which is I've kind of memorized it. He said, we love you Indians as immigrants to this community because you are professionals, you are hardworking, you have family values, you take care of your children. You are not a law and order problem anywhere on the planet Earth. Forget about America alone. And you are in the highest median income. You look after yourself and you ask for nothing. So the question is that when you ask for nothing, then you get taken for granted. So this is the point which is very important for Indians to make a significant impact. We have to begin to ask. The success of Vivek Ramaswamy and many others is a proof to that fact, that these people were not anything that came with a golden bird. They came with a determination to work hard and find their way up. The American dream is not about owning a Ferrari and a beachfront house in West Hampton Beach or California. It's about living a right life of dignity and respect. And that's what is important, that nobody comes to America to remain poor, if I may say so. Everybody wants to come to do well. And that's where I disagree with the Democratic Party when they talk about laying down a minimum income program. Those are socialist measures. They kill innovation pride when you live on the arms of the government. Yeah, give the support to the needy, but you don't have to make a general rule that give everybody something to live on, basic minimum income. That was exactly what destroyed India. In India, there used to be a thing, Congress party had introduced a concept of common minimum program, which made everybody helpless. You don't have to build a road, just lay down a narrow track and you built a road. Give something to somebody so they're able to live. No, the idea here is, which America gave, come here, work hard, do well, you make your own life. That's what is important about America. And I want that practice to continue. Don't talk about state support unless needed.
So, USA is a pioneer of the globalization of economics, obviously for American benefit. And we are seeing that the America has reaped rich dividends with that policy, where it is the single largest source of FDI, foreign direct investment, even now. Yes. Even during the COVID times, we attracted the maximum investment. So, and your district has the wealthiest of all people, some of the wealthiest. I mean, people live in San Diego and Miami and those places, but you are the backbone. So now with that with the rise of China, and I know you are focused locally only, with the rise of China and rise of India, and they are also attracting significant FDIs. So there is a share of pie going that side also. So how do you think that the US can maintain their edge over others?
For the United States to maintain the edge, they must stick to the principles that has made them what they are. That's very critical. Elections are local, issues are local, no doubt, but we are currently living in a world which is remarkably interconnected world, thanks to technology. From San Diego to New York, we are talking live. The people are listening to this conversation globally, potentially. Point is very important. We live in a remarkably interconnected world, and we must continue to pursue the path that has made us successful. China, India, various parts of the world, we are all interconnected. The theory of comparative economic advantage plays into the role here. So if something can be made at a less cost in China or India, why not? it also leads to the prosperity of those regions, because we are Nike supplies, and the many manufacturing, Apples and others, they're supplying goods and services, manufacturing products, because it is made at less cost somewhere else. So the cost advantage allows you to have price competitiveness, and that's very critical to understand. So I am all for developing globally, because we live in a global world. There is no choice about that. And it's only when you grow globally, then you expand markets. And markets expand, there is prosperity. It's very important to bear in mind. There's somebody said the other day that the level of demand for luxury goods determines the success of the economy. So it is very important thought. You might agree with it, or you may not agree with it. But let me give you one very single pointer to this. In India, I joined Reserve Bank of India as a very coveted job, the highest paying job. But with that money, whatever money it was, you could not afford to buy a scooter or air conditioner or a refrigerator, because it was impossible. They were branded as luxury goods. You come to America, these elements are necessities. Given, whether you take a house or an apartment, there are basic things are already there: air conditioner, heater, cooking range, gas supply, everything is given. What was luxury there is today in India, you notice that economic development has led to these things becoming commonplace. That's what is important to bear in mind. So we are living in an interconnected world. You are a technology guy, I'm a banker. We have all seen how technology has become a major enabler for everybody. And it has also brought about flattening of the world, which Nandan Nilekani said once. The world, it's a flat world. It's not geographically a flat world, but in terms of information, knowledge, ability to do things, we are living in a flatter world. With the use of a smartphone or other instruments, we are connected to anywhere, anytime, with knowledge and information. What we are doing with it becomes critical. So I welcome globalization, in the sense that we need to be using resources to help each other more than trying to corner something to my advantage. That's why I don't like the phrase my way or highway. If any system can improve, let's do it.
So, in your position, one question comes in, like the local priorities of law enforcement, tax collection, and also welfare, which is after COVID-19, people are looking for welfare. I'm talking about the people who are in the lowest income bracket.
Right.
Homelessness is increasing gradually. It's not because people have a choice, but they have no choice but to live on the roads. Some people do not have that choice because, first of all, they don't want to compete, and partly given up hope. So how do you see those challenges, and what difference as a community leader and as a local leader you can make to support those organizations?
That's a very, very important question, because this is the time when the private sector must recognize and collaborate with the government to provide support to the people who have fallen into the trap. Now, COVID-19 has been a disaster for the world. Millions of people have died, 1 million in the United States itself. It has completely upended the economic theory that we practiced. So at some point in time, the vaccines were supplied free. It didn't cost anybody, but manufacturers made boatload of money on that. So the question is, at what point in time and how must the government end up supporting? You can't have a policy. It's a very interesting clash of values. Like in Manhattan, a very strong Democrat attorney was telling me that the right of the tenants is far more superior to the rights of the landlord. You cannot evict a person anymore because he's not paying the rent. It is creating a very, very, very strong fissure in the societies that we live in. So it is a time for the entire leadership, both political and business, to come together to help the people who have suffered and enable people who have suffered to rise above. डूबते को तिनके का सहारा कहते हैं ना. The one who is drowning, you need to give him a helping hand to pull him out. At that point in time, he's not looking for a beautiful health plan. He is looking for help to survive. So when survival becomes the name of the game, then the collaboration and coordination of various agencies becomes critical to lift the society from the morass that it is tripping and falling into. And this is the time, a very, very critical time for private sector and the government to collaborate to make sure that homelessness, unemployment, and income levels are provided support. And there was a lot of support provided. It led to a lot of deficits that happened in the economy. So every leadership and every aspect of life, religious, political, economic, business, everybody has to come together how to bring about the modicum of decency that existed, the opportunities that were lost, how the new opportunities can be created. So like every disaster is an opportunity. So that benefits somebody takes some advantage, some fall into the trap. So we have to kind of make sure that we collaborate in an effective manner. And technology now enables us a lot of information, transfer of goods, transfer of services. So that collaboration, coordination, and living together is key to moving forward.
High gas prices, high taxes, high inflation, and if you talk about additional taxes to the private sector, individuals, it's a big, it's an economic disempowerment actually.
Yes.
It discourages the business guy. And the more important is that when we are dealing with these issues which actually destroy the social fabric, and also destroys the competitiveness ability of individuals also internationally. Believe me, the US is now fighting as much for business with India as, and even more with China. Europe is, I don't want to even say anything over there. So how do you see tackling those issues in your local area?
In my local area, the again, issue is very simple. Local area issues may not be that badly affected as it is elsewhere. So 1 million people have died. They have not all died in my constituency. The issue is here very clear. As you mentioned, the cost of essential goods is sky high right now. I mean, think about it. Today I was listening to the news that even a well-earning golfer was astonished that in PGA Tour, the guests, the viewers were paying $19 for a beer. Think about it. $19 for a can of beer. Even he commented about that. So that when something outrageous, this is what is critical for us to remember. If our policy, there's a cost of regulation, which is very important to understand. I wrote an article on that actually. There is a cost of regulation. When you try to bring about a policy, it is going to cost, both in terms of regulatory authority and the pricing part of it. Both these things have to be worked out. So let's look at it from this point of view. To save lives, we instituted a policy of mask mandate. That led to the supply chain distribution. So the question that people must ask as a review, as a learning, what was the impact of that particular measure, the regulation, that everybody must wear masks? People did not want to wear masks. That led to the supply chain distribution. We are putting 40 billion plus money in Ukraine war. Can the world leadership not come to terms with itself that, this war is not necessary? $50 billion worth of arms, ammunition, and support is being given to people in Ukraine at the expense of American taxpayer. I'm not seeing anything that Europeans are contributing to that. It affects us here because eventually we are going to be paying the tax money. We are going to be paying through high-rise prices. Like President Biden announced that people will have to pay a price of freedom. This is not the price of freedom. It is a cost to freedom by policies that impose burdens on everybody else. That $40-50 billion worth of aid could have easily helped American people much more than trying to avert and pump in money to fight with Russia. This seems outrageous. The global leadership, the UN Security Council members ought to have come together to say that, hey, let's not fight at this point in time. It benefits a particular group of people, arms industry. They are making, their stocks are doing well. So in our community here, we can't be isolated. 9,000 people migrated from wherever they came from. They were dumped over here. There is a cost to dumping people like that. These are issues that need to be addressed. Frustrations of people who have lost jobs, who have lost livelihood, has to be understood. Whether you are a Democrat or Republican, doesn't matter. It affects everyone. And it's time for us to come together. Prosperous communities can do better. Listen to them. And that's what the issue that we want to address, that how wrong policies lead to disastrous consequences. And that is a very simple example. Mask mandate, how much did it cost to the US economy? It has to be thought out.
The COVID-19 and the vaccine efficacy is not dying out. Recently the Bill Gates said it, we'll have to get every 6 months. Anyone above the age of 50, we need to get the vaccinated every 6 months.
Right.
And we all know that he has business plans. But what do you think of COVID, which was a disaster, and then the wars, which has started right after COVID, when we were not even recovered, are even bigger disasters for American economy? And the sanctions, which have destroyed American economy more than anyone's economy, because with the sanctions, small businesses like mine, we suffer. Because small businesses, anything less than 50 million is considered a small business right now.
Right.
And so as by SBA definitions. So the small businesses have suffered a bigger hit with sanctions, with the COVID, and the relief which was given as PPP was not enough. But what do you suggest a forward plan?
This is the crisis of leadership. To put it very in a simple sentence, it's a crisis of leadership that the global leadership must come together to ensure that disasters will happen, but how to deal with the disasters, they are not man-made. It's critical. I mean, we know that there is a biological lab set up all over the place. There is an accusation that Ukraine itself has many secret labs for bioweapons. People were using that in China. We have yet not determined, this is the failure of global leadership, that today the world doesn't know who is the perpetrator of this, how this virus spread out, the way it is spread out. People are not foolish. I consider myself not a foolish person. I may indulge in a foolish act from time to time, be that as it may, we all have that particular proclivity, but it's important. I am unhappy that today, this sophisticated leadership with the arms of technology, we are not able to find who did it, why did he did it, and where did it happen. We have not been able to determine that. And there is a tremendous amount of sad element in this, that we are trying to solve the problem without knowing where the problem came from. If somebody knows, transparency is required. The world needs transparency. That's why I said, you can earn the political leadership of the world today, which is suffering from a serious credibility gap, because we do not know who is telling the truth. Institutions are getting weakened. And when you weaken the institution, it benefits nobody. The other day, Nancy Pelosi, I was aghast to hear Nancy Pelosi, the Speaker of the House, such a responsible position she holds. She represents an institution. She was openly denigrating the Supreme Court of the United States. When you decry, when you run down your own institution that is supposed to protect, is a very important arm of the institutional framework, then you weaken yourself. Why must I trust Nancy Pelosi or Joe Biden, the President of the United States, who makes vicious statements about the political opponents? A language has to change. There is a need for all the problems are solvable. That's something which I believe in, provided people commit to solving the problem instead of aggravating the situation. So the issue here is very clear. that this is the crisis of leadership we are facing. Solutions can be found right away. Today, if all the five Security Council members, Russia included, determine that the world has suffered enough, no more wars. Whatever happens, no more wars. We have to control the biological labs, do research, but make sure that the accidents of this kind doesn't happen again. These are the issues that we need to focus on. And I am coming into this part to bring these matters to the fore. Trust, you have to earn, the political leadership has to earn the trust of the people. And the trust of the people can be earned only if they know the truth. And transparency is the key.
So, Vibhuti, thank you so much for coming on the show today and sharing your views on all the important matters. Nothing else remains for me to be asked. Would you like to add a few words which I may have missed out?
No, you haven't missed out. I hope people are satisfied with my global perspective on the issue, because you are right. Elections are fought on local issues, and local issues are affected by global environment.
That's right.
So a tsunami somewhere affects me too. Supply of goods and services everywhere. I mean, for example, the Chinese imposition of the COVID restrictions led to the shortage of supplies elsewhere in the world. So the question then arises, is China doing it as a political action of reprisal against everybody else? Or was it a genuine COVID problem? Think about it from that perspective. And because there is a lack of trust in the Chinese government, people become uncertain. And when you have the uncertainty, it hurts everybody. This is the important part the global leadership must realize. I want to thank you very much for this. And, local issues are, in this prosperous community, local issues may not seem important, but they are very important. It begins with the law and order, safety and security, because this community is very prosperous. And businesses, you said last minute, 90% of the US businesses are in private sector. And they are small, and businesses are supposed to be the backbone of America.
That's right.
This is what America must make sure, that an Amazon or a Walmart doesn't gobble up the mom and pops, because they are the ones, those small businesses create employment opportunities. So I'm all for small business protection and their growth.
Just one more question that comes to my mind is, most of the American profits, they come from Asia, not from Europe. Europe has their own policies and they pretty much stayed independent of USA. But most of the American profits come from third world countries. And the Mexico is a bigger trade partner than Canada, almost 550. It's in fact the number one trade partner of USA today. So the Asian, if Asia sneezes, America becomes poor, and the constant wars create an environment where the ships cannot cross, because you have to cross many continents. Africa you have to cross, and the purchasing power that the Asia has, it is unmatched by Europe or anyone else. So when China has COVID, then we have shortage of baby food very clearly. It right happened. So what do you say in American or Asian business involvement with American small businesses, which depend on Asia a lot? In that aspect, what do you say on that?
You have brought out a very, very important point. This is the era of rise of Asia. Europe has a shrunken economy. They may have political ambitions, but Asia is key. India and China themselves, they make up of the 2.6 billion people around the world on a lower side number as a population. These are huge markets. And Asia, the remaining part of Asia, is also growing very rapidly. So the point is very important. You brought out that manufacturing, supply of goods and services to America is a large economy. Their consumption patterns. We take pride in telling that we are the largest consumer nation in the world, but we are the largest consumer nation in the world because there is a supply coming from somewhere else. So Asia is thankfully free of wars, other than the skirmishes between India and China from time to time. But there is no war in Asia. One has to learn from this element that Asia's economic prosperity is because there is peace there. And this is the critical element. We may be a wartime economy, but our businesses thrive because things come from Asia manufactured at a remarkably lower cost of anything that matters. That's very important. And pharmaceutical industry better watch out for that, because a lot of, to give the audience a very simple example, I suffered from throat irritation in Bombay. In a 5-star hotel pharmacy, the medicine that I bought was for 100 rupees. The same medicine is available in the United States at $50 or $20, depending on the prescription and what shop you own, to go to shop to. This is a disparity that Americans are paying huge prices for things is not okay. Profit is good, profiteering is not. And Americans would be will serve themselves well and their system better to put down a marker this far and no further.
Thank you so much, Vibhuti Ji, and thank you for all the viewers for watching and listening to my conversation with Vibhuti Ji. Vibhuti Jha from District 16, Assembly District 16, New York.
Thank you.
Namaste and thank you.
Thank you very much for having me, and I hope to have more conversations and going forward. And it is important for us to remember we have to abandon the theology of my way or highway. We are all in it together.
Namaste.
Namaste.